So, let's start. We have a short panel, so we have to make it short and sweet. And I would like to hear a personal statement from all of you. What innovation or app has changed the way you work or has changed the e-culture in your organizations? Quick statement from all of us.
Well, the internet disrupted the media world, I think, like 20 years ago. And I mean, there's like so many great platforms such as Snapchat, Facebook, BuzzFeed. You know, it's all about news, and it's like moving away from like the older. I don't want to say older story, but it used to be about storytelling, and now it's just all about news.
Use, okay. What about you?
So for me, it's definitely the smartphone. So I can work from anywhere, anytime. I have it in my pocket all the time. So definitely a smartphone.
Huge growth. 2 billion smartphones in the world right now. Anne, and for you?
Yeah, for me personally, I must say, for me, for sure, it's the e-papers, because I read the newspaper online in the evening and not in the morning anymore. And for us in the company, I would say, of course, also the social medias and how we can communicate interactively, internally, of course, and also externally.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Dorna?
Good thing to be the last one to speak is say smartphone and social media.
Okay,
for
very
sure.
good. So you see on our panel, we have 2 representatives from the so-called older established economies and 2 from the sort of digital runner-up companies. So to the digital pioneers, Dorna and Diana, can you please tell us first more about your startup idea? What is it that you do in an elevator pitch style? And then how does your startup drive the digital game change of a new e-culture?
Okay, so you already introduced me. So what we are doing, we bring coding into classrooms. This is our main target. And we teach students how to code. And we are not only doing workshops ourselves, but we are also providing materials for teachers that they can use in order to teach kids how to code, because there isn't really a lot in German language available. And I think what we are doing in order to like bring the digital age is like education, definitely. Like we want to like teach the next generation about coding, that they don't all need to be programmers in the end, but I think it's important for them to learn more about digital products, that they know what's happening around us.
If coding was skiing and it takes maybe 3-4 days for a beginner to learn how to ski down a slope, how long does it take to learn how to code in the sense of basic skiing?
You can like get first skills quickly, but if you
What is quickly?
Tomorrow we'll build apps in 60 minutes.
60 minutes, okay.
But these will be simple apps. But if you like want to be a real coder, a real programmer, you definitely need more skills. You need to understand the concepts and everything.
And how many days?
Oh, it's really hard to say because it depends a lot on the people.
Okay.
But one thing, there are boot camps, especially in the US, and they teach you to be a junior coder within 8 to 12 weeks. And then you have the skill set to be a programmer.
Okay, wow. Dorna, what about you?
iFront Desk is a mobile concierge for hotels, for tablets, but soon also for smartphones. And we are also developing the bring your own device so that the hotels don't have any excuse to tell us they don't have any money for the hardware. And actually what is happening now is that the very old school hotel industry is starting to understand that they should listen to their guests and listen carefully and see what the needs of their guests are. And that basically the best example I always like to say or show is the traveler of today or the hotel guest of today is much happier to have a free Wi-Fi than a fruit basket in his room.
Okay, now to the more established companies. Anne, you're from the banking and finance industry that has, of course, undergone or witnessed digital disruption by new fintech and startup companies. And you've done something very interesting. You've set up an e-culture initiative at UniCredit HVB. Tell us about what this is, how it works, and how it can change the mindset of people in a large organization towards more digital.
Yeah, as you say, of course, digitalization has also disrupted our branch and the bank branch a lot. So what we were thinking about is on our digital journey and on the digital transformation, we also have to bring the people along. Yeah. So apart from the digital natives and digital pioneers like the founders maybe here on stage, we have to bring our people, but also the community outside along the journey. So we set up an initiative which has different measures to show the people what all digitalization is all about. Yeah, meaning, for example, we are doing Internet of Things exhibitions to make the people show what does a 3D printer look like, or how does a drone look like. Yeah, to make it really feasible, and it's we see that the people really love it. The same is for the coding. Yeah, we are also trying to do some pilots on coding workshops in the bank, but also outside the bank, just to give the people a flavor of what digitalization is doing and how it is changing our life, and to make it more understandable. Or doing like hack days or expert sessions. So this is an initiative called eCoulture, and it's just at the beginning also of the mindset change that we are going along.
And you are also a co-founder of the HVB Women's Council. How do you use that platform, or how can other organizations use a platform like that to drive change?
Well, I think since the Women's Council is consisting of business female leaders outside the bank, of course, and female entrepreneurs, for us it's really a good sounding board, first of all. And of course, we get the experience of this variety of different businesses, giving us a very clear picture of where we are doing good, where we have to improve, what the outside view is, and what initiatives we should do as a bank. So for us, it's very helpful to get this external view from a big variety of businesses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. So to you, Alex, I've been waiting a long time to have you on a panel, so I can ask you anything I want to ask about Burda Media and DLD, of course. So we all know Burda Media has been a trendsetter when it comes to digitization. So I want to ask you both about Burda Media, but also about DLD, because we are at DLD, and DLD has a very special culture, as we know. And I would say it's at the prime of a digital and e-driven culture. You're an insider. Please tell us, how does Steffi, how do you all do it?
You mean like bringing in all the great talent from the US, or?
Just the culture, yeah? There's a special feeling about it. How do you do it?
I think we're pretty much known as like a startup within Burda. I mean, this is also an initiative that is really driven by our CEO, Dr. Kahn. He always calls it in German, it's called der Unternehmer im Unternehmen. In English, it would be the entrepreneur within a corporate company or internal startups, and this is what DLD basically is. I mean, we have open workspaces, we're completely mobile, we travel a lot, thankfully, we can travel a lot. We get to go to Asia, to the US. We're a lot in the Silicon Valley and in New York to really find these trendsetters, to invite them to Munich, to tell us about their story, about their platforms, about their products. And
You have a very friendly boss.
Steffi. And she's like, my boss, Steffi, is like the best. Connector, and this is probably what DLD really drives. We are a networking platform, and we're just not a conference where people can share their ideas, but find other people to be innovative with and found new companies, and this really makes it special.
And we know successful companies nowadays are often organized as platforms, and in order to be a platform, you have to have a culture of openness, coming back to the mindset of people that Anne Gfrerer mentioned. How did Burda Media achieve the mindset change of its employees earlier than some other companies? How was that achieved?
I mean, as I said before, I mean, the news world or the content world was probably the first one that got disrupted through the internet. Probably that happened 20 years ago. And Dr. Burda himself, he was like a really early adapter, or he knew what's rolling towards us with this big wave coming from the internet and from the Silicon Valley, and he really drove that into into the company and into the culture of the company. And I mean, we have so many great initiatives at Broda, and we really try to give responsibility to our employees. We do hackathons. We had a great hackathon with the HypoVereinsbank last week on the future of finance. This is also one of the tools, you know, to bring in this new talent to the company.
I think you have to explain maybe what a hackathon is, what you actually do there.
Well, you invite like 100 cool creatives, coders, to like spin a new service or a new app on a specific topic, and this time it was on the future of finance.
Okay, very good. Now I'd like to ask all of you actually, how do you think leadership is changing or has to change in order to drive a digital mindset and drive the organization of digital businesses?
Well, I can start. Well, first of all, I think, of course, also when we look what is important today and what will be important tomorrow. So if you look at what we heard today with Drive Now, the cars, the offices that we have today, it's not so important tomorrow. So if you think about leadership, I think there will be a lot of other values coming, which will be much more important for colleagues and also for the leadership teams in a company. And new values will come in, like, for example, how much time can I have for a sabbatical or something like this. So I think the leadership in the future must be inspired much more by cooperation, cooperative work. Also integrating communities. Yeah, so I think we will much more work together with employees, with clients, with the community. And so I think leadership has to be much more inspiring in the future, much more even than today. And I think we have to look at the new values which will come and some other values which go, because the size of your car, the size of your office won't be important anymore.
I think as work is getting more flexible with the technologies we can use, communication, for example, we can work anywhere, anytime. And in this case, I think you need to trust a lot more and be like give out responsibility. And at the same time, if you look at companies like GitHub, they are like completely remote, and you still have teams, but they're spread all over the world. Then you somehow still have to form a team and have a like team identity and stuff like this. So I think this is a challenge for like the future digital leaders, how to deal with that as well.
Teamwork and flexibility, I would also agree on.
And always stay curious, always be creative. I mean, journalists are always curious, and especially we at DLD, we have to be curious, because otherwise we wouldn't know what's going on.
Thank you. I think many here at the panel have experienced work in the established corporations and in the younger corporations, or worked with younger corporations. What do you think they can each learn from each other? What can the startups, the digital pioneers, learn from the established corporations, and vice versa? What can the big corporations learn from the startups?
Well, I think what we are doing a lot of work with startups, and what we as the big companies can for sure learn is, of course, the openness, to think more out of the box than we do in the companies, and having the mindset of anything goes, anything is possible. If I look at the startups, what I see, what they could learn or what they could improve, or maybe have some learnings from the big companies, when I see the presentation of ideas of the startups, very often I think, the presentation could be much, much better. So selling some ideas is sometimes something where I think, okay, the startups maybe could learn also from big companies or from people there. But I think in the overall sense, it's really the combination of both. Yeah, so that's why I think many companies work together with startups now, because you can combine both advantages together.
And the good thing about startups is they are ideas driven, and I mean, corporates are most of the time very much process driven, and this is why. You know, at a startup, you have an idea, you set up a website, you test it, you run it, and you pivot. But and at the same time, you're really data-driven, you're very user-centric, you're really flexible, you're really fast. And if you do that in a corporate company, for example, at Berta, you probably have to do a few meetings, and you have to do, write emails about it and do follow-ups and stuff. And this, this steadiness, this slowness is sometimes a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that incubators are really important. I have the experience with the Telefonica incubator, Wyra. It's of course always important that the startup explains what they need and ask for it and demand it. But in the end of the day, it's important for a company like Telefonica or a company like Telecom to have these young people in, to have these ideas in, because they just can't create it in-house. And through that, they also get a fresh wind in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what Alex said is very true. So you being fast is like a benefit of startups, pivoting, testing, trying out, and failing fast sometimes as well. And at the same time, I think it's very good to have experienced people to learn from. And I think that's one benefit from the mentoring program we were in, that we had the chance to also learn from like the mentors, and they gave us advice, because when you're like starting a business, you of course make mistakes, and it's good if maybe some people help you prevent making those mistakes.
Mm. So Anne, you are head of communication, and we know that leadership has a lot to do with communication. Leadership management is a talking profession, as they say. How do you use communication internally, externally, to drive the entrepreneurial change we heard is necessary?
Yeah, I think communication, of course, has a very major role, especially also internally, as we said, to drive this mindset change, but also to bring together the different parties, like the employees, like, as I said before, the community, the clients. So I think communication, first of all, of course, plays there an important role. At the same time, of course, through the digitalization, also the communication itself changes a lot. Yeah, we had to learn a lot, and we are still learning a lot on how to interact, how to communicate, getting much more faster, getting things much more connected, also marketing and communication. So there are also a lot of things going on within communication due to all the changes.
Yeah. I'm curious, how would you weigh using social media, digital written communication in driving change versus, I don't know if you do this, influencing your CEO to give personal talks about the importance of certain things? There are, I guess, two ways to use communication to change. How do you mix the two? How do you handle it? When do you prefer which way?
I think both is important. Yeah. So also for us as a company, we are still having like kind of town hall meetings, where we have the whole board team meeting in the regions with the employees, where we invite all the employees. And we see that this is very, very much honored by the employees. So some kind of personal relationship, meeting the board members, is top-down communication is also very, very important.
And what's the main message for a CEO to communicate in order to drive that eCoulture change?
Yeah, of course, being a good example by itself. Yeah, so I think, of course, you can also only implement in the company that what you are inspired by yourself. So I think it makes a combination from, of course, also personal related communication at the same time as the digital communication. So we need both.
And what about you at DLD? How do you keep up the innovative spirit?
Well, as I said before, I'm always curious. I love people. I love talking to people. I mean, like most of the topics or most of the ideas for new speakers also come from, through our network. I would go to Esther Dyson and say, hey, Esther, what's going on in Silicon Valley in the healthcare sector? I mean, what's like the newest cool company that we should invite? And if she knows if she has an idea, then we would ask her for the contact or the introduction. I mean, this is how it works.
So remain open.
We are very, very open-minded. We have to be. I mean, like especially now in the internet world. I mean, everything is going so fast. Everything is rapidly changing, and it's tough. But
you say it like this. We're open, of course, but a lot of, especially large companies, are struggling with exactly that: being open to customers, employees, a larger network. Now, turning back towards our digital pioneers, what do you think are your greatest challenges, and when do you see the startup communities you are in as communities, and when do you see them as competitors?
I would say my greatest challenge is patience.
Patience, okay.
Patience, and also living this life of an entrepreneur within your partnership and family circle, because not everybody understands it. And if you're lucky enough to have a partner who supports you and who's crazy enough to understand a little bit what you're doing, that's a lot. And the second question was about the exchange with...
Just wondering, when do you feel like you're part of a great startup community where you are thriving towards a common goal, and when does it feel like you're amongst competitors who are trying to steal valuable resources, potential employees, financial resources from you, and how do you handle that?
Well, in a way, it's a combination of both, of course. And in our particular business field, the hotel industry is still grüne Wiese,
Green playing field,
exactly, for IT topics. Therefore, we have competitors, but we know each other, we embrace each other, we are real pioneers. And hopefully in 3 to 5 years maximum, it's going to be the most normal thing, what we are doing. But until then, we're in a way helping each other. But certainly, we keep our eyes open, and we're cautious about what the others are doing. But it's productive, it's important, it's healthy.
So I think for us currently, the biggest challenge is time management, how to use the little time we have as a really small team with big ambitions. And decide which meetings we go to, which partners we work with, and I think that's really hard. The startup community in Hamburg is probably not as big as compared to Berlin, for example, but it's a really great community. So we have great events, we exchange a lot, and to me it feels a lot more like working together than competition. I mean, if you're at a pitch, of course there's a competition, but in general, I really like to exchange with others, and it's a good spirit.
Now, I assume if we think about eCoulture and driving digital businesses, a lot of maybe even people present and a lot of people in organizations are wondering and are asking themselves, how innovative are we really as an organization? And I would like to hear from you ideas about what questions are well suited to answer that. So what should people ask themselves about their organization, how they work, in order to find out, are they very innovative when it comes to eCoulture, digital innovation, or are they not so innovative? How can they know?
I mean, by organizing a DLD conference every year, I think, or different or DLD conferences every year, I think Berta proves that it is very, very innovative.
So you should ask, am I organizing a DLD conference? And if the answer is yes, then you're further up.
And of course, I mean, we have, for example, these initiatives at Berta that we send our editors-in-chief over to New York, that they learn from other media companies how it works, and
So ask yourself, do you send your top management away to learn from the competition, for example?
To learn from others, to learn from competitors, learn from startups, of course, too.
Good. Okay, fair enough, yeah.
I think learn from startups, because the ideas with what they come up, we've seen this at the Hack Day, they have really good ideas, and if you compare what are we doing, what ideas could we integrate, I think that helps a lot.
So set a benchmark with some entrepreneurs.
And of course also ask the clients for sure, but also maybe ask some startups or see what ideas they have and how you can maybe also work together, especially in our industry. The fintechs, of course, are attacking the banks, but there are also some good ways of cooperation,
Now, from the entrepreneurs, how does a company know they're being innovative?
I think if they attract the best people, the best talent, because I think young people really want to work for innovative companies and really good companies. I think that's a good sign.
Okay.
It's a real motivation also for other employees and team members, and it's a good thing to do.
Okay, rounding up. Let's all speculate that we meet again at DLD, of course, in a couple of years' time, 5 to 10 years. how will we look back and how will we remember the discussion today, and what topics and challenges will haunt us in 2025, you think?
I mean, this year's DLD theme was "It's only the beginning." I mean, because of all these big new changes, they are rolling towards us, caused through the Internet of Things, caused through globalization. I mean, there's going to be happening so much more. And I mean, this is why we're doing DLDsummer. I mean, in our opinion, the healthcare sector is going to be the next sector that will be disrupted through the Internet. I think in 2025 we're hopefully going to have autonomous cars on our roads, but in terms of BERDA, I think it's going to change a lot. I don't think we're going to have this one publishing house in the north of Munich with 1,200 people, with all these editors and all these managers. I think it's just going to be the managers and all the editors and journalists. They're going to be mobile. They're going to be working from the US. And I don't think they're going to say I'm a journalist for BERDA. They're rather going to say I'm a fashion editor and I work for this, and this magazine. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be really decentralized.
Different organization of work then.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So I hope that in 10 years, when we look back, they say, "What? You attended a panel and you told people that they don't teach coding at schools." So and they didn't teach about digital products. Yeah. So this is one thing I hope that we will say in 10 years. And I think the most important topics in 10 years will probably be about energy, mobility, and health.
Well, I hope that in 10 years from now, what we're doing is going to be, of course, totally the state of the art for the hotels. But I also hope that tradition doesn't die, because I really believe in the combination of both, and I think that is the real thing.
Okay.
Well, I think when we heard a lot also from your DLD about the machine-to-machine communication which is coming, and about how robots and machines will also take a lot of part of our work, I think in some years the interesting question might be, what are we using our workforce, our human workforce for? What are machines doing? What are we doing with our brains? What are we spending our time, our work time with? What will be relevant and what will be done by robots? And I think maybe we will also ask ourselves the question, what's the best way to be offline? Yeah? And vice versa, to have the strategy how to be offline somehow. Maybe we will discuss about this.
Thank you very much for sharing your insights, and I look forward to next year's panel.